in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
A new touristic attraction gracing the city of Nassau, and it could lead to much spin-off benefits. Good evening, everyone. I'm LaDawn Davis, and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight Weekend Edition. Thanks so much for tuning in with us. The Pompey Square officially opened in grand style to Bahamians and visitors alike in the heart of downtown area. Work began to transform the former Pompey Museum after an unfortunate fire ripped through the facility in 2011. The multi-million-dollar project is part of the first phase of the downtown redevelopment project. It's considered the gateway to the city of downtown Nassau, and with its unique charm and features like the indigenous landscaping, park benches, a water fountain, and public facilities, the $1.5 million Pompey Square will attract more visitors to the downtown area. Minister of Tourism Obi Wiltshire strongly believes the Pompey Square will generate some big tourism and economic benefits.
What's going to happen, they have a number of fairs out here, a number of events. Ed Fields told me that they have bookings already, but we're going to stage a number of things. So, of course, we're revitalizing Goombay, because Goombay was always intended to be a folklore festival of the cultural history of the Bahamas. So we're going to revitalize Goombay the way that it was in the early 70s. It's going to help our economy grow. And look at the restaurant just next door, Senior Frogs. Well, they're going to benefit even more so. And of course, the hotel, you'll have visitors who will come from out of the Hilton, and they will come here to sit and just relax.
Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie captured some of the rich history of a slave behind the Pompey Square.
The story of Pompey the Exonian slave is one that should be an inspiration to all Bahamians for all times. His acts of resistance to slavery and those of his comrades, both men and women, represent a pivotally important episode in Bahamian history.
Over the next few years, the Pompey Square will serve as a tourism recreational hotspot for Bahamians and visitors seeking to relax and enjoy that down-home Bahamian experience. Managing Director of the Downtown Nassau Partnership, Ed Fields, says maintaining and ensuring that the property remains attractive is a major priority.
We already have maintenance contracts in place for cleaning the bricks. We have people hired to make sure that the bathrooms are kept clean. We have landscaping contracts to make sure that the landscaping is attended to. It's fully irrigated. We're just going to make sure that it's kept clean. We're committed to that. And we have the budget from the private sector, specifically the Hilton, who I want to really give kudos to make sure that happens.
The final stage of the multi-million-dollar redevelopment of the Lynden Pinling International Airport is ahead of schedule and within budget. Construction on the new domestic and international departures as well as domestic arrivals terminal began in October last year and cost roughly $81 million. CEO of the Nassau Airport Development Company, Vernice Joaquin, provides this update on the LPIA expansion.
Probably about 4 months, maybe 4.5 months from completion. So it'll be nice to not have to talk about construction in a few months, but I'll tell you this, that it's been going so well that I'm so pleased, I'm so proud of the fact that, all of the people who are engaged on that project are just so motivated to build it well and to see it come to conclusion.
Joaquin says while Stage 3 of the project is not quite completed, it will have a tremendous impact. It will accommodate 8 retail outlets, 4 restaurants, bars, lounges, a bank, and even a post office. According to Joaquin, all concessions are and will be owned by Bahamian operators.
Going to be the domestic arrivals and departures terminal, and the international, meaning non-U.S. departures terminal, is going to be beautiful. Because I think by the very nature of the art installations that are going in there, they're so unique. They're so unique to the Bahamas, and they are so representative of the Bahamas that I think every Bahamian going into and out of that terminal is going to be very, very proud. Beyond that, though, it'll give us an opportunity for the first time to have domestic passengers and international passengers in the same terminal in close proximity to each other. So it gives a good, I think, mix of customers for the retailers and for the food and beverage outlets as well.
The Lynden Pinling International Airport is being upgraded to the tune of just over $409 million. The critical care block at the Princess Margaret Hospital is progressing well and is expected to be completed in a few weeks. The block will provide for the consolidation of laboratory facilities, an increased number of operating theaters, improved storage, and increased availability of beds in the ICU and NICU. It was started under the previous administration, but according to Prime Minister Perry Christie, all of the resources needed to complete the project were not in place. He says in this fiscal budget, the government plans to rectify this issue.
Mr. Speaker, in the area of healthcare, we have secured the funding for the completion of the critical care block at the Princess Margaret Hospital. And Mr. Speaker, let me say this, but I listened to the leader of the opposition, and because he was talking about me, I paid close attention to him. He was a minister of health. And let me just say, I started off saying, we secured the funding for the completion of the critical care block at the Princess Margaret Hospital. A project that was commissioned without full funding being secured by our predecessors, contrary to any other public statements made. They were too busy opening the stadium before it was completed, rushing the completion of the straw market, grandstanding about groundbreaking political events instead of proper planning and execution.
The critical care block is being constructed at a cost of $55 million. In news from the crime beat, police are searching for two men responsible for a shooting of a teenager. The 17-year-old was shot in the Monastery Park community around 6 o'clock yesterday evening. He was taken to hospital where he was treated and later discharged. Police are investigating and are appealing to members of the public who may have any information regarding this incident to contact them immediately. You may not be able to cash in your unwanted gold locally soon. That's if the government gets its way. Those enterprises are legal operations, but there is evidence to suggest, rather, they are fueling illegal activity. This has prompted officials to take a critical look at this business and their link to crime. Our Janea Noel Ferguson spoke with National Security Minister Dr. Bernard Nottage about what steps are being taken.
After announcing his intent to shut down cash for gold and scrap metal enterprises, Minister of National Security Dr. Bernard Nottage says the government is now seeking legal advice to do just that. In fact, he says this operation is priority for the government as laws put in place to regulate the industry, including proper record keeping, inspection of articles, and proof of purchase of items are not being adhered to.
I think there would be grounds there for us to close these businesses until we can get the assurance that those who are in the trade are in fact following the law. And even if it's not the law, they have a responsibility, just as everybody else, to ensure that what they are doing is legal.
While some may say this is a radical solution to the problem, Minister Nottage says he's gravely concerned that too many criminal matters are being linked to the establishment of these businesses.
A situation where people are actually losing their lives because their jewelry is being stolen off their very bodies as they wear them. And the figures that I showed in the House of Assembly indicated that with our armed robberies, more than 50% of them are associated with this whole question of stealing jewelry.
The former administration passed the Pawnbrokers and Second-Hand Dealers Bill back in 2011, which outlined that scrap metal and cash for gold operators could face jail time or a fine not exceeding $20,000 if the regulations are not adhered to. Minister Nottage admitted that they have not been able to police this industry as it should.
The matter is, as you know, there are a whole lot of offenses against the law which are not being punished for one reason or another. Well, we just have to do a better job at it, and we want to pay attention to this one because this one can be deadly, and so it's receiving priority from my ministry. But I can't give any excuse for not enforcing the law as it should be.
Now, we reached out to several cash for gold and scrap metal businesses for their views on the proposed shutdown, but they declined to comment. Janea Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Thanks, Janea. Stay close. We've got more news right after this.
Those of us who were around 40 years ago July 10th, 1973. It was a very, very momentous and memorable day. I remember where I was exactly on that day, just as I remember where I was and what I was doing when John F. Kennedy was killed, and also where I was and what I was doing on September the 11th, 2001. The exception with of course, our anniversary, 40th anniversary celebration is it's a very happy occasion. On July 10th, 1973, I was with my family in Abaco. I'm a fifth generation Bahamian. My family are from the Abacos, and we had a home there back in '73. And I was there with my family, and I remember distinctly lowering the Union Jack and hoisting proudly the Bahamian flag. Also, 40 years ago, believe it or not, I was in the real estate business. This is my 43rd year. So I've seen it all. And I'm very happy to be wishing our Bahama land a very happy 40th anniversary.